Welcome to this week's installment of Reading with Robin, your number one destination since 2002 for insightful author interviews and discussions on everything literary. And with no further introduction, your host, Robin Call.
Writers and Lovers by Lily King. Put that one on your list. Do not miss this book. Lily and I are going to talk about it. I've been gushing about it for a very long time, it would seem, and it is such a treat to have her on today. Lily King is the award-winning author of the novels The Pleasing Hour, The English Teacher, Father of the Rain, and Euphoria, one of New York Times Book Review's 10 Best Books of 2014, finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award, and the winner of the Kirkus Prize. She lives in Maine. I am so thrilled to have her on to talk about Writers and Lovers. Welcome to Reading with Robin, Lily.
Oh, thank you so much, Robin, for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So happy. You know, there's nothing like reading a book. I mean, and we were talking off air. I read this book over the summer, and then now it's finally, it's out. It's beautiful, and I am so just deeply thrilled to get to chat with you about it, but also to share it with my readers, because if ever there were a reader's love, just like a writer-reader bookish, it's like everything that we love about reading in one space. And it's so like cool and cidery and like, just romantic, and there's melody running through it, and characters are just I'm so invested in them. Plus, Ophi the dog. And you got Rhode Island in there. You got Rhode Island.
I did.
Yeah. I remember when I was reading it, and I have an old, before you had a cover on it, so like the old blue copy, and it's all beat up. And I remember, I was rereading a little in preparation, and that's part of the interesting thing about reading books so far ahead, because like I'm lucky I get the books in that I do, and then to reread that'd be a real luxury. So I did. I reskimmed, and then I was like, I remember saying, oh my God, she put Rhode Island in there. So I'm so excited. It's a People Book of the Week. It's the Book of the Week pick, and it's all over the place. You can find out more at lilykingbooks.com, and then from there, where do you like to hang out? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or not really so much, or you will be?
No, I'm just not very strong on social media, just to put it mildly. Twitter is where you can find me if you ever find me, but I can go for days not doing any of it. So
any pressure from the publishing team to like change that, or you're just sticking to that?
Oh yes, they would love me to have started doing all of that about 6 months ago in a super authentic way.
It has to be super authentic, Lily, or it wouldn't be, right?
Oh,
so
and
funny.
To start way in advance, and so you can just kind of slide into the book season, like, by the way, I just happen to have this book that I want to tell you about. But it's so funny because I am such a one-on-one kind of, I'm fine in person, but I freeze online. It's so unnatural to me. I question everything I put down. Like to make a tweet, it takes me like 20 minutes. So it's terrible. I edit and re-edit.
Yeah, and in person, like you say, it is what it is. It comes out, there's no editing, once you've said something. But I know there's that idea. Maybe I wonder if it is more frustrating in that way for writers, because when you're writing, you are editing. When you put out there what's out there, it's been edited, gone through, and it is.
Exactly.
But you're right. I mean, so you'd need almost an editor. So could your editor jump in? Like you could tell them, I guess, if you guys want me on there that much, what I need is an edit where I'm comfortable, where Lily King is comfortable as having an editor edit my social media.
It's not so much that kind of editing. It's more like I write it, and then I see it in a different perspective, and then I see it in a different perspective. I'm like, people might think I'm meaning that, and I get really caught up in, I don't know. And also there's a privacy thing. Like, if you meet me, I will tell you everything, and I will listen to everything, and I'll want to get really, into the nitty gritty right away. But online, this like wall of privacy comes up.
Yeah.
Like I won't post pictures of my children, and I won't.
Yeah.
I just don't want to talk about my private life, and I don't know why, because I'm not a private person.
Well, that's something to meditate on. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I guess what probably will really make them happy is like have your book with you always, and just take lovely pictures of it and put it in unsuspecting places, and they'll be like, oh my God, Lily's putting her book out there. Like I always do that with my friends' books. I make sure they're with me, and I just put them places I take, because then there's some of that. There's some original content that way, but I understand like putting too much that's personal, and you will share that in person. So go to lilykingbooks.com, check out the whole website. I love the picture of your 5 books there together. That's really beautiful. And click on events, and you'll see where Lily will be. And in person, she will tell you everything that is not
That's right.
in the social media. I'm going to put this on social media. And you have quite a tour. That is, and it's been a while since you've toured. So what are you most looking forward to about this tour?
Well, I am looking forward to not getting the coronavirus. I'm looking forward to.
You could actually have your book. Why don't you get the book jacket on a mask? Maybe they could do those. I'm surprised someone hasn't done those yet. I know there's a shortage, but maybe that's not a really bad thing to give away. Anyway, I digress.
That's funny. No, what do I look forward to? I just look forward to seeing all my friends that I never see except when I go on book tour.
Isn't that the best?
Yeah, it really, really is. It's the very, very best thing. So I am excited about that. And
then there's the people.
Hotel rooms, they get old after a while, but at first they're fun.
Well, that's the thing. We were talking. We're so excited to have you here March 9th when you're fresh as Daisy, and things are just starting. Fresh. Yeah, and I think we hope so. We like fresh, and I think that there are people that you must say to you, I'm going to see you there, or they're posting. Well, you might not see if they're posting, but they are posting. We're going to see you. We're coming, and then there must be like surprises. People move around. You don't know, like they might be in town where your book, signing is.
No, it is so true. Every now and then it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Some guy I haven't seen since freshman year of college.
Yeah.
In the front row, I'm like, oh my God. And all these memories are like flashing as I'm trying to read and talk. And it's really
Isn't that hard? Like when you're like processing also, or thinking like, who is that? Who is that? Who has that? And then you're keeping the talk going. Like, have you ever been in that position? And like, how do you like turn that off?
I know. You have to be really, you just have to clamp it down. There's so much you have to turn off when you're standing at the podium. And then the other thing that happens is that I get a little bit of brain freeze when I'm signing books. And so somebody will come up and I'll know them so well and I'll just, but their name, like suddenly I have to write their name and I just freeze. Like I don't know. It's like a loss of blood in my brain or something.
I wonder if there's a trick, because it's not like, remind me how you spell that, and it's like DAVID, right?
Exactly.
So, or did you want this to you or to somebody else? I don't know if there's a real graceful way, and I think hopefully the line understands that, because there's one of you and everybody's coming at you, but I can imagine where it's somebody so familiar, you just can freeze. Maybe put a little sign up that says, please pardon me, I can tend to freeze. Be helpful.
I know. I have thought of that. I really have. I've thought of everything.
Please be kind and put your name. I know they do have the stickies when people help with the line, and then some guests get indignant, like, they know who I am. I don't need to put my name on them.
Right. Oh, that's really funny. I love those stickies. That's very helpful.
Aren't they the best?
Yeah.
They are the best, those stickies. We had an event last summer, and one of the publicists was like, where are the stickies? I'm like, they're right here. They're right. We got it covered. It's just like having a sticky meltdown. Writers and Lovers, it's just out by Lily King. Go to lilykingbooks.com. And, I read this. I remember sending you a message. I just soaked it up. I couldn't, it was just one of those, like, I knew I was going to love it, and then I was like, oh my God, I love this so much, and then it's over.
Aw,
and
thank you.
now I finally get to talk with readers about it and get everybody's take and the things that people love especially connect to. And for you, talk about what that's like. You've written it, you've been sitting with it, and now, and then.
I know. It's weird. It's a weird transition, I have to say. I've gotten 3 reviews today.
Oh, wow. I saw Wall Street Journal, which was awesome.
Yes, Wall Street Journal, People, and Boston Globe. Just came in like 2 minutes before I went on with you.
Oh, wow. I'll post those. I love
so it's weird, it's out there. I mean, it's one thing, when it's pre-pub, you get the trade journals, but they come in slowly, like once every couple of weeks, you might get something and you kind of forget about it. And now it's like, boom, 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 boom.
Right. And then you're right. And then you've got do you have the Lily King Google alert set up, or does your publicist?
Oh, no. I would never do that in a million years. That would drive me crazy.
What you would have wanted to read as a young woman writing, and like all of that. And and I never read on this show, but can I read just the first few sentences just to?
Sure.
I just love this. I have a pact with I remember this is where I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm hooked. I have a pact with myself not to think about money in the morning. I'm like a teenager trying not to think about sex, but I'm also trying not to think about sex or Luke or death, which means not thinking about my mother who died on vacation last winter. There are so many things I can't think about in order to write in the morning. So like compartmentalizing and like how does a writer sit down, because if those things are swimming, like how can one write? And that's where we begin. And I was like, I'm hooked. I'm going on this journey. And so where did this, talk about how this book took shape. I didn't realize there were some others that you were trying to work on in between Euphoria and this. Like, I didn't know a lot of that. So that was really interesting.
Yeah. That usually happens to me. I usually have kind of one book that I'm excited about writing after I publish a book, and then it fizzles for whatever reason. I'm kind of used to that happening. But this time it happened twice. The first time I couldn't pull. I don't know. I don't really know what happened. I think I got attracted to another idea, really. But I just wasn't in. I wasn't feeling it. But fortunately, I knew that in the first, 2 chapters. So then I started researching something else, and I got into that. I mean, I did a lot of research. I was really psyched about this book, and I got about 20 pages in, and my mother died very suddenly.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize that either, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It was awful. I mean, she went off on vacation to the South Pacific, and she was in great shape. She was 82 years old, but really, like, molecularly, she was like a 50-year-old.
I can imagine.
Super healthy, and I really don't know exactly what happened, but she died in a few hours, and it was such a shock, and we were so close. She was really really a dear friend. We were so we just understood each other so well. So anyway, I stopped writing. I stopped writing that. I stopped writing everything except for terrible journal entries, and for a long time. And then, I just didn't know if I'd ever write fiction again. And when I felt like it again, this book just came right out of me. It was very strange.
Well, it seemed like it was very fast.
Paragraph, paragraph that you read, that was the first thing that came out. And I feel like it's a real roadmap to the rest of the book.
Excuse me. Oh, wow. And did it sort of come out like that?
Exactly like that.
Wow. Because I was reading, there really wasn't much changed, or right? You delivered the manuscript, and it sounds like this was the book that you really. I mean, I get chills kind of thinking about it, about how that happens, and then what you take from your mom's story to put in here. So it all must be so incredibly meaningful, like beyond.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely, I draw on all of my emotions, of losing her, but I don't feel like that, that mother is my mother,
No,
she's
right.
She's a different creature, but
just the part about the vacation, and that gets conflated sometimes, and so readers will know that isn't the situation, and you get asked that, of course, but the specific going on vacation, that's the only part I meant. How could one possibly, or wouldn't want to at all, but that jarring kind of like, I mean, what's that like to sort of go back and think about that in those, is it, I guess not, I don't know, cathartic, or is it, you see things from a different perspective with time too, but and we use it. So I sort of had chills reading that.
It was really helpful to write. It really helped me. I know it helped me to make sense of it. It just seems so senseless, and meaningless. And then when you can write about it and get it out and put it into an art form. It really, I don't know. There's a place for those feelings. And so you feel like they're up and they're out, but they're somewhere that, where they mean something. I don't know.
Which is really helpful. Must feel like that's meant to be. I mean, also when the book can pour out of you like that, that's got to. I mean, and there's so many. So we've got all these writers and artistic types in this book. So we're getting such a sense of what that world is like, and the readers are going to just love this, and book clubs are going to soak it up. And visit LilyKingBooks.com and read all about writers and lovers. It's on anticipated lists everywhere. It's all over the place. People are so excited about it. Everybody that I've told about this book, they're like, Lily King's book. I mean, people are just. It's so exciting on this end of things, and I feel so personally connected to the book and just loved it so much. You're welcome. So, such a treat to share. So, talk about Casey. Let's start with Casey.
Okay. Well, we start with Casey. She's 31 years old, and she's just moved to Massachusetts after kind of a decade of traveling, moving to different places. Every year or so, and she's been trying to write a novel for the past 6 years. She is totally broke, in debt, $70,000 in debt with student loans and MasterCard debt, and she lives in the side of a garage in kind of a moldy room, and she has a very stressful waitressing job, and she's just had her heart really, really badly broken by a poet at a writer's colony in Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island, yes, Red Barn. Is that what it was? In Burr?
Red Barn, yep, Red Barn.
Yeah, I love that, yeah.
And then she meets two men, and who are also writers, and they make her life even more of a mess for a while. And I think she's really, at 31, she's really at that point of all of her friends are kind of moving on past their younger creative dreams, their dreams of living a creative life, and they're getting careers, and they're going to law school and med school, and they're getting married, and some of them are having kids, and they're kind of finding their feet, people might say, and she is feeling like she is more and more lost and more farther and farther away from kind of the rest of her life and some sort of adult future. She's really caught.
And you can
I just wanted to capture that panic and that anxiety and that.
Yes, I reread a lot of it, and I remember when I was reading it the first time just feeling, at that age, 31, late 20s, early 30s, of how somebody would feel when, I guess, whatever, yes, the traditional path of what becomes where it is for an adult. And then, people regress when they get there too quickly sometimes, too. So whether, everyone has a different timeline.
Yeah.
So, but there is that anxiety. It's so anxiety. People certainly asking about the book. They're asking Casey, and then she's got that snarky Adam landlord saying, what are you working on that? And just those things that people will say, and how one keeps that dream alive when against, other things and reality and paying bills. And this poor Casey and her health care, and I was like worrying about her and all of this. But, but like when you have that drive, and what happens when someone does give up the dream, and what's that like, living with that, and where is it, the talent, and who's telling you. And she's got this great friend. I love this character, Muriel. I love her. Yeah, she was great. Talk about that relationship a little.
Well, I just love Muriel. I mean, everybody needs a Muriel, and I feel like I have several Muriels in my life, and I just value them so much. They're the kind of people who don't make, who make you feel sane for all of the crazy ideas that you think you have. And she's just there for Casey, and I really hope that Casey is there for her too. I mean, I think maybe Casey takes a little bit more than she gives at this point in her life, but they have a real bond and a working writer's friendship, which I think is so essential for anyone trying to embark on this kind of a life.
And those are some of the things that, are so, that they're just woven in there for people who are writers or fascinated by the writing life. Like it's just such a great, people are going to love this book on so many levels, but I could see that crowd just being like, oh, this is what I can look for. This is what it might be like, or this is what, these are the jobs that happen in between, and this is how you keep it going, and the people that you surround yourself with. So having people that are supportive of your writing and that you can, really get real with, that's essential.
Yes, exactly. And to have a reader, who's so good like Muriel,
And she's worried when she does give her work over, when you haven't heard.
Yes.
Have you, is somebody supposed to check in with you, or do you wait? Do they wait until they've read it, or did they just not get to it yet? Or,
right,
like what
exactly.
Those thoughts that, can torture a person that's putting their heart out there, their work, their heart. And so I really enjoyed that connection. And then you've got, talk about who some of the characters that we should know, because of course there's no spoilers. The book's just out. It's Writers and Lovers. I'm chatting with Lily King, so we won't be giving any spoilers, but we'll be talking about these men, and also the character of Iris, this amazing restaurant. I felt like I picked up so much waitressing lingo, the deuce, and I almost felt, I remember thinking, wait, am I asking for a 2-top or 4-top or deuce? I was just, and it's fun, and the book's funny, and it's like my favorite kind of book because it's funny, smart, and just so many jewels, writerly jewels and wonderful authors and quotes and, I don't know, things like, that you remember other favorite books and you just want to, bring them all together for a little book party. I don't know what the question was, but you can
the question was
part
about the characters. Well, there's, of course, Harry, who is her Pakistani / British best friend at the restaurant. He's
Love
a gay
them.
man.
Yeah, what a great couple.
Who is just, he's just her person, at a very difficult job, really, where it's competitive. It's a very, high-end, fine dining restaurant. And there are some real career waiters there, and it's, it's kind of a tough atmosphere in some ways.
Yeah.
And so she and Harry are really, he just makes it easy for her, easier anyway. And so he and Muriel really are her big support system. She doesn't really have any family at this point for most of the novel. And then there's Silas and Oscar, and those are the two love interests.
Mm-hmm.
And Silas is her age, and he's also an aspiring writer. and she thinks of him as a flake who like asks her out, and then instead of going on the date with her, calls her up and says, that he's driving across country, and he'll see her, and he doesn't know when. And then there's Oscar, who is an established writer, has a couple of books out, and is kind of regionally well known, and he's a widower with 2 kids, and he offers her a completely different way of life, and they confuse her a lot, but she likes them both.
Well, because they offer, right, they can be offering different things, needed, crossover, and forget where did you say, or maybe it was an interview with you, that men come in clumps. Did I read that somewhere? I was like,
oh, that's so funny.
Right? Was it somewhere?
Yeah, I did say that. I don't remember where I said that.
But you did, and I was laughing. Right? It's like things are not linear, and people come in and out of our lives, or in the same time, or
they always come in clumps. In my experience, they always. I
thought that was so funny. I've never, I could see that on a T-shirt or something. I just like the visual of that, and just the sound. There's something about the alliteration there. Sometimes you can't get everything from just one person, and there needs to be, there needs to be teamwork. Also, because they're they're writers, poets. So talk about like the competition in the creative world and what that's like, because also there's a book party, and I love that. That was one of my favorite scenes, and just imagining, because we've been to them, so we know, and I thought that was really fun. And of course I'm thinking, who did Lily base this on? I was trying to who could this amalgamation of, whose eyes were those? Because that's how I read.
And that's really funny.
Where does competition come in, and versus being supportive when somebody's dating and they're in the same basic field, even though at different levels, or maybe people don't see it the same way, but you're still getting rejections or reviews or all of this stuff, but it could be in the same genre, and how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think there are a number of writers in this novel who have very different approaches to that, and there's,
sure.
I hate to, I can't, I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah.
I know, it is tricky. It is really tricky, because, my hope is that you really don't know,
No, I didn't.
You don't really, you learn more about these characters as you go along, and you don't really know what's going to happen and who's going to, kind of.
No, you don't. That's why I sat down and read the book. I think it was in an afternoon and the next morning. I remember dropping Puppy off at camp and sitting in the car because I think I was just about finished, but I had to finish. Like I had it in, my bag with me, and I could have waited till I got home, but I apparently couldn't. So because I had to know how it was going to end up. So that's, when you don't know, that's just like it just makes it like the perfect book. It's a perfect book for me. And the Reading with Robin gang is going to go crazy for it. And it's Writers and Lovers. It's out. It's by Lily King, and you can go to lilykingbooks.com and click on events and see where she's going to be. And also I remind the audience to leave loving reviews on Goodreads and Amazon, because I think that's a really nice thing to do. And it doesn't take so long, and I think it's a really kind thing to do. After all, Lily's done the work of writing the book. So there you go. You're welcome. And also, there was something, I love just the mentions of some of our favorite writers in here and the women and talking. Talk about why this also is so important in terms of shining a light on women authors and taking, where men are writers, the difference yet again where their writing might be taken differently. And as a woman, who's it, Edith Wharton, whose mother said you can read novels after you're married, or
yes.
Is that who it was? I'm going off the memory here.
It was.
Like,
She locked
crazy,
up all the novels.
Crazy stuff, and just the difference between men and women in their author photos, right? So
yeah. I know these are all preoccupations of mine. You know, she has a little riff about. I've always been fascinated, especially. I mean, really, all of this is really. It takes place in 1997, and it's very much a 90s perspective on women and men and writers, and you know, things are different now. I really believe that we've come, you know, quite a ways in a short period of time.
Yeah, 20
in some ways.
Years. Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
And I mean, because I know that when I was starting out, you know, in the late 80s, 90s, trying to be a writer, I read, you know, the books about women, you know, female characters who are writers, you know, who are struggling with becoming a writer. I never found one, and so I was always reading Hemingway's Movable Feast, Thompson's Hunger, James Joyce's Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, Bright Lights Big City by Jane McInerney. I was reading those books. The Sports Writer by Richard Ford. I would read those books over and over, you know, to just kind of see a character who's a writer. And there was there's Jean Reese, you know.
Isn't that wild? But
she made it look really bad. And so I didn't really, you know, that is a book. That's why I was really wanting to write this book, because I felt like I didn't have this kind of a book when I was starting out, and I would have really needed it. I mean, I did need it to tell me that it was going to be okay.
That's the other thing about this book, like for gifts, which there's nothing like a book for a gift. And if you come to this event, you get a signed book and you give a gift. For the writers in your life, or these young women that are, you know, taking these creative writing courses and doing summer writing and all of that, what a gift. I mean, it's that's why I say it's such a bookish, writerly, you know, it's also for anybody who wants a great story, but like it's just even that much more connected to the souls of the people who, like you're saying, a book that you would have wanted. Like, where was this book when I was thinking about writing and all of that. So, and it really makes you think about things in that way, where those were the books that were out there, though, and you could see, okay, this is what it's like to be a writer, but it's not like what it would be for a woman to be a writer. So it's very different. And now we have Writers and Lovers by Lily King.
But we also have, I mean, since since I started out, you know, we have My Name is Lucy Barton by Elizabeth Strout. We have Department of Speculation by Jenny Ophel.
And
How Should a Person Be? You know, it's not about being, well, she's a writer and a artist. But I feel like there are a lot of.
So things are changing. There's more. But like you say, you set this in 1997, so it's just 23 years ago. So how did you get what did you do to get yourself into the 90s mindset?
Well, I think the thing that made me realize that this was set in the 90s was at the end of the first chapter when she has a message on her answering machine.
Yeah.
And I was like,
machine.
We're in the 90s. Like there's no changing that. And there's, you know, she doesn't have a cell phone, and it's so funny the way the phone is always the thing that.
Yes, right. Yeah. Now we know where we are because of how we communicate on the phone. Right, because there's so many things that you can't do, and I don't know, is that tricky when you're writing, because you have to remember, oh no, how would I have gotten this point across? I wouldn't have just sent a text. Or if your character is on the phone and they're playing with the cord while they're talking, like that's a telling thing. But
right, exactly.
You know, how many cords did we ruin or rip out the walls?
I mean, in this case, it's so exactly. In this case, it's very helpful because, I mean, you know, as these things are, not to have direct, immediate. There's just a lot of calling back and forth. There's a lot of waiting for phone calls. There's, you know, when Silas disappears, you know, and drives cross country. You know, there's no texting or talking to him or anything like that, except for the time he calls from a payphone.
a payphone, right?
and leave the message,
which you have to wait to get, and you could miss it, right? You'd miss a call, and you wouldn't just have your phone, and it really does sort of slow things down, and there's a lot of time for thinking and what could be happening, and you don't know right away.
Yes, and time for moving on, because, of course, you meet somebody else while he's gone.
Well, because he didn't just pick up his phone, couldn't send a text and say, right, hey, I'll be right there.
Couldn't keep her hanging on the line, just keep her on the line,
Yes, Blondie. But I think I think that's one of the things that, does change the way a story can go or the way life went. Because, well, what would have happened if there could have been an immediate connection? Or, there's always those things. So I think that's really a cool thing to talk about when you're talking about the time period where a book is set. And I could go on and on. I just loved everything about this book, and it was so deeply. You're welcome. So deeply satisfying and just a treat. And if ever we needed a treat, it would be now. So give yourself a gift and visit LilyKingBooks.com, and you can check out, really, it is quite a tour, and go see Lily while she's on tour, and go to Goodreads. And I do like to remind the audience, and we have a giveaway happening. So go to, this is what I always sort of forget, but I post about it. Reading with Robin on Facebook. We'll be giving away copies of Writers and Lovers, and also on my Instagram, Robin Call Inc. There will be copies to be given away as well. I couldn't have loved it anymore, and I'm thrilled to share it with the audience. And it is Writers and Lovers. It's People Pick, Boston Globe, Wall Street Journal. You're seeing it everywhere. It's on all of the lists. Everybody is talking about this book. And before I let you go, what are you looking forward to reading? And I don't know, on tour, or books that you're blurbing maybe, or something that we can put on our to be read pile.
So the Lost Children Archive is very high on my list, and then Such a Fun Age is also a book I'm really eager to read. And have you read it? That
was great. Oh yeah, we hosted Kylie at the series.
Oh, you did?
And she's
wow.
So lovely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to read that.
That was a treat. That was like one of those really big treats. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then Kevin Wilson's Nothing to See Here. I need to read that. I'm a little behind.
I haven't read that one yet. Yeah, it's here.
And I just finished Weather by Jenny Ofel, and I loved it.
Well, because you had referenced her before, so I was going to ask if you read it. Yeah, I did. I enjoyed that. I think I read that in the fall. It's a small book. Yeah,
it is. It freaks you out about climate change.
Yeah, well, there's that. If there's not enough to freak you out, yes, add that one to your pile. But her writing is just so
but
gorgeous.
It's so beautiful.
It's so gorgeous.
You need to be. It's a good freaking out. It's something we all need to understand, and she does it so beautifully.
So important. So those are good ones. I know there's never enough time, right? And you must have such a stack. And then you're on tour. When you're on tour and you're in all these bookstores, then there's just even more. But I think there could just never be enough that you just have something to reach for, and you're in for a treat, and spend that time on yourself, and that's the joy of it. And when books like this come out, and you just think, oh, I get to read this, I get to share this, and then there's the conversation. Like, so what are some of the things that you hope people will talk about when they're talking about Writers and Lovers?
The idea that there's so much doubt involved. There's so much fear and sense of making the wrong decision in your writing and in your life, and I think that writers don't talk about that enough. Just the kind of the sense that it's never, you never ever feel like it's going well, even when it's going well.
Right, and, even when everyone's telling you it is, and you're hearing that. Or
you find out later that what you were writing was actually not a waste of time.
Interesting.
But, like when I say that this book poured out of me, I mean, it did come out, it really did come out. Like I didn't have a time where I had to stop or
Amazing.
rethink or take a pause or anything like that. It wasn't like I was thinking this is great or anybody would like this. I mean, I was just riddled with all the doubt that I was writing about in the book. I was feeling as I was writing those words, you know.
Wow.
As I was writing all these scenes, I just felt like nobody's going to care, nobody's going to get it. And you know, the old kind of saw in the publishing industry is that don't write about writers, you know, don't write about writing. That's not what people want, you know. And so when people heard that this is what my book was about, I think that they kind of, you know, put their head in their hands and
so happy to have this book, right? Isn't that even like more satisfying? To me, it's like, oh my God, a book about what I love. That's what's better than that.
Well, I felt the same way, and when my agent really wanted me to change. Everybody wanted me to change the title. Nobody could stand the title Writers and Lovers. And I remember sitting down with my agent for the first time, like in New York, after I'd finished the book, and she's like, you know, we've got to change the title. And I was like, if I saw a title of the book, Writers and Lovers, on a table in a bookstore, I would run to that book so fast.
Absolutely.
Like, you are not our demographic. You.
That's so funny. Okay. Oh, that's fun. You write your books, but you may not be but you are, and I'm so glad that you got your title because
I am too. I'm so glad.
It's just such a great title, and I remember when you told me about the title, I was like, okay, I'm in. Right there, you know. And
well, you're also not the demographic, probably.
I know. Well, what good are we? We're not the demographic yet. We seem to share a lot about books. So go figure. Well, this book is just so high on my list. It's such a treat. And like I said, it's been a while since I read it. So I was like, finally I can try. And then even better, once more people that I know have read it, then we really get to discuss it. And I get to see you here on March 9th. So very excited. Yay. And thank you so much. And enjoy the tour. See you soon.
Thanks. Okay, see you in a week and a little bit.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's installment of the Reading with Robin podcast. As always, our full-length podcasts will be available right here on robincall.com. We appreciate your support and look forward to having you over next week when we chat with our next featured guest. Have a great week and happy reading.